Hello darlings, welcome to another episode of The Curious Mind of Raquel Carter. I am your favorite mermaid mystic. So today's video is just merely going to be a beautiful success story, and it's about my grandmother's quilts. It's also a beautiful opportunity for you to recognize through me telling you this story of how, if it requires whomever in the universe to get you your manifestation, that you will get your manifestation. If it takes a thief to move to get you your manifestation, 100,000 people, 1,000,000 people to get you your manifestation, then that is exactly what will happen. So I must go back a bit and explain I was working on a little heirloom quilt this morning for my cousin, and I wanted to share this story because Spirit whispered this to me. Oh, this would be a lovely little video to give to share with your subscribers. So I thought that I would do that. Now, I was in the cottage, this was probably a year ago, and I was setting up the full-size bed that I have here in Scarlet Rose Cottage. And my father, about a decade ago, had given me this beautiful antique bedspread that was my grandmother's, his mother's. Now, I've always cherished this bedspread, but not used it on my particular beds because it's very threadbare and I want to preserve it. But I recall finding it in the stashed in my trunk, and I was like, oh, and so it just was kind of nostalgic that day when I was putting the sheets on and the linens, and I thought, oh, that would have been so lovely for me to have my grandmother's quilts. It's really, really unfortunate that I don't have any of my grandmother's quilts. And so I didn't think anything else about it because my grandmother has been passed probably a little over 20 years. And I just, it was just merely me reminiscing or thinking, oh, wouldn't that be lovely? I didn't think anything else about it. I made up the bed and blah, 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 whatever. And then a week later, my auntie Margaret comes round to visit. Now that is my namesake, and I call her Aunt Maggie. Well, she comes round to visit my father, and afterwards, and then I saw her and she's like, oh, Raquel, I have something for you, darling. And I was like, oh, okay, thank you. And so she took me out to her vehicle and she says, look what I've got. And it was a box full of 5 of my grandmother's quilts. And to understand this story, I want to take you back to tell you about this exact thing that if it requires a thief, sorry about the lie, I'm trying to not move, but if it dims out a bit, I'm trying to share this story and I'm not going to stop the video. But anyway, if it requires a thief or 1,000,000 people to move, it does not matter, because you are the God of your reality. Whatever you desire, you get. It is automatically yours. And the only reason that we don't get the things that we want straight away is because mostly we don't believe that we're worthy of it because of old conditioning. So I'll just let's set that aside. But I want to continue to tell you the story about the back end of this and how these things occurred to give me my desire. Now, I live in Scarlet Rose Cottage, which, as many of you understand, that this was me bringing myself back to the land of the living, because my son was murdered in 2019, and that's why my husband and I, Jeffrey Sean, moved in with my parents. And it was loads of things that happened, but they were all manifestations, not my son dying, but the manifestations that came afterwards were all desires that I had had. And so I got them bang, 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 all in a row. But anyway, one of those desires was that I wanted to move back to my hometown, wanted to move back near the water, you know. And so we moved in with my parents. Now, they had the storage shed. This is what I've completely turned into Scarlet Rose Cottage, my little Victorian cottage. This was my grandmother back in the day. This was my grandmother's storage shed. And she would keep all of the antiques and everything for the little Cotter village, because she had a little Cotter village. And anyway, so my grandmother passing over 20 years ago, I was not under the impression that there was either her quilts had been distributed amongst the family or the children and all of the siblings. I did not know what happened to them. That was not even on registering on my mind, okay? Now, little did I know that I'm going to tell you the story of my Aunt Maggie and how all of this transpired. Now, I'll call her my Auntie A, because I'm not on good terms with her. I don't have any emotions. I'm very middle of the road when it comes to this particular aunt. It's just we don't jive. It's not someone that I, resonate with. Let's just leave it at that. And there was many things that occurred in the family when my grandmother had passed. Volatile things that were unlawful, and yachty, okay? Let's just leave it there. Let's just pin that one, okay? So the family has not been on good terms with this particular daughter, okay? There's 8 children. There's 4 boys, 4 girls. A couple of them have passed. But anyway, my Aunt Maggie is still on good terms with the Auntie A. Auntie A was having a yard sale, and my Aunt Maggie ended up going to the yard sale, and because they're on speaking terms, and she says, Auntie A had this cardboard box, and she went in to go get change for a bill, and whilst she was inside, I took the box because I thought that it was a travesty that she was selling these for a $5, and these were my grandmother's quilts. She was selling her mother's quilts. And so she said, I immediately put them and chucked them in the back, and she said, I thought that you would want them. Now, what I want you to understand is the universe knew that I'm not on good terms with this particular Auntie A, and also knew that my desire had been to have these particular quilts from my grandmother. The universe used my Aunt Maggie as a liaison to get me my manifestation, which was my grandmother's quilts, because there would have been no way that, first of all, that I would have known that my Auntie A was having a yard sale, that I would have known that she had, prior when my grandmother passed, stolen all of those quilts, or that she was going to sell them at a yard sale. And the way that I got my desire was through my Aunt Maggie. And all of this was orchestrated so strategically. So just when you think that you can't see the possibility of ever being able to have your manifestation, that it's not your employment to try and figure out, rummaging around like a little rat. It's not your employment, darlings. Just line up with the desire. And if you can remember that your higher soul, your oversoul, which is, I call my mermaid inner being. It's the Raquel. It's the mermaid inner being of Raquel, because that's who God is. God is your own wonderful human imagination. God is a creator. You are the essence and the perspective of God, right? So everyone is the same. We're all just looking through, as source, through these different projections, these perspectives. And we're all learning all of these different things in our mortal vessel, which I call, to figure out and learn how to create more. So then what we do is we go and we figure out, oh, I've learned to create this way. This is one perspective, Razzie's perspective, and then Sam's perspective, and Jack's perspective, and Jeffrey Sean's perspective, and Deborah's perspective, and John Henry's perspective. Everyone is the projection of source, the all-encompassing source, okay? We're just all, that's why it means we're all one. People that I know, especially people coming out of religion, do not understand this because they're like, I don't understand what you mean. It's like you're all, but you're one, but you're not one. You're like different people. Like that doesn't make sense. And so how I try to explain it to my Christian friends that are coming into spirituality from religion is that in the Godhead, you know, if you come from a Christian background, how it says God is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. It's the triangular effect, okay? That you're one in all perspective. And you can understand this because I have deemed that you will, and I am manifesting that you understand it. We are high frequency consciousness here on my channel. And so you are understanding that you are the I am now. Now is the state of all we have to be concerned with. And I know that I kind of went off on the little bit of, I always say a little current. I went off on that current, but I don't believe that I have to explain too much, but like me to explain it further, I would be more than happy to. And I have a few other fun videos that's coming up, but I'm painting these particular graphs and diagrams and everything. So that's what's taken me a bit of time. And thank you for being here because I know that you're going to enjoy it. And I think that once I use these metaphors, these mermaid magical metaphors through mapping, that you are going to understand things more clearly spiritually. Because if there's nothing more that I want you to understand is to understand the law, and metaphors is a beautiful way to understand the law because it gives you this sense of seeing it through the perspective of a creator, because you are a creator, I am a creator, we're all creators, and we have the God essence in us. So you will resonate with these particular diagrams because I know that they've been channeled through spirit, and that's a lovely thing. And so I'm very excited to share these things with you. I'm almost done with the last one and I can't wait to bring them to you. So I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you derived some benefit from it. And I know that you did because I am manifesting that you did. And I hope that you're having a lovely day. And as always, I'm most affably yours until my next swim. Cheers, darlings. Toodle pip.